Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now I'm going to show you this. I'm using this Peach Can Simply Soft yarn, and it says it's Country Peach, light Country Peach. I've been doing this stitch. I'm making this little blanket and I've come up with this little stitch. Now it's really simple. It is a puff stitch and a UK treble crochet. If you're in the USA, that's a puff stitch and a double crochet. That's all it is, but look how pretty it is. Now what I want to say to everyone is, don't be afraid to mix and match stitches and come up with little patterns. Now there's no doubt this has probably been done before. It's just two simple stitches, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's really pretty and it's really quick. It crochets up really fast, so if you need a little go-to blanket or a go-to shawl, you can have it that way as well. Look how pretty it is going up and down the way like that. It's really pretty. You can do it that way. Do your chain whatever length you want. Do an odd number. Now for my sample, I'm going to do it in this paint box. This is it doesn't tell you what colour it is. It's a paint box simply chunky yarn. I want to show you the difference in it in a thinner yarn, like this one, to a chunkier one. It's up to you, whatever yarn that you use. Use the hook that tells you on your label, or you can just experiment. Use a thin yarn and a big hook and you'll get a much lacier pattern, or use a smaller hook and thick yarn and you'll get a much denser, thicker type of blanket. So I'm going to pop that aside and I'm going to show you quickly how to do this little pattern. So for this chunkier paint box yarn, I'm using a size 6mm hook. That's a UK size hook. You can do your chain any length you want, but keep it an odd number. Once you start doing your first row of treble crochets, make sure it's an odd number. So I'm going to do a chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make sure that when you do your chain that you don't do it too tight. So I'm going to do a UK treble crochet into the 4th stitch in my chain. Don't count the loop on your hook. Count the stitches from here, the completed stitches. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Put yarn over and go through that 4th stitch. And you have 2 treble crochets. That chain of 3 there makes your first treble crochet. Now if you get all the way to the end and you count them and you've got an even number, just take the last stitch out, just pick it out. There's quite often that if you do a chain, especially if it's for a bigger blanket, you might miscount. But once you've got this row of trebles done, then you can just count them. And if you don't have an odd number, then just pick that last one out so that you do. This stitch works a little bit better with an odd number of stitches. So yarn over and through the next stitch. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. Do that into each stitch all the way to the end. So I've got 2 stitches left, and this is just a sample that I'm doing. Now if you get to here, then count all your stitches and make sure that when you do the last one, it's an odd number. If it's not an odd number, don't do that one, just pick it out and make sure you have an odd number of treble crochets. It's just to keep the pattern symmetrical. So I'll do my last stitch. So this pattern I'm sure I said earlier it was a bobble stitch. It's a it's a puff stitch. It's a puff stitch. So what you're going to do now is you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. Now into the next stitch here, you're going to put 1 treble crochet. That's a double crochet if you're in the USA. Now chain 1. We're going to do this puff stitch row. Skip the next stitch and you're going to do a puff stitch into the next one. So I've done a chain 1 and skip 1, and now we're going to do a puff stitch. Now the puff stitch that I've been using has 4 times you're going to go into this stitch. So put your yarn over and go through the stitch and pull your yarn through. Now pull it up to the same height as your other stitches. Put your finger on there, put your yarn over again and keep it up to the same height as your other stitches and go into that stitch. That's twice. Do it again. That's 3, and 1 more is 4, and you've got that bundle on your hook. Put your yarn over and come through all of those stitches. Keep that one there. Just come through that bundle of stitches. Put your yarn over and come through those 2. Now what that does is it locks in your puff stitch and it gives you another stitch for your next row so that you can go through there. You can go through that stitch that's above it, and it keeps your puff all nice and neat. So you're going to chain 1, skip 1 and puff stitch into the next stitch. So that's 4 times into this stitch. Pull it up, keep it up the same height as your other one. That's 1, 2, wriggle it up, 3 and 4. Now I suggest whatever way you hold your yarn, make sure you hold it loose. Put your yarn over and come through all of those stitches that you've done. So you've got 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and come through both of those loops. Chain 1, skip 1 and do your puff stitch into the next one. That's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yarn over through all of those, yarn over and through those 2. Chain 1, skip 1 and do your puff stitch all the way along. That's 3, that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Through all your stitches, 2 loops, yarn over and through those 2 loops. Chain 1, skip 1 and do your puff stitch all the way along to the end. So I'm near the end. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left. So I'm going to skip a stitch and do my last puff stitch in here. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Yarn over, come through all of those stitches, or loops rather, over and through, chain 1. I'm going to skip that stitch, and in this stitch and the top of that chain I'm going to put a treble crochet. If you're in the USA, that's a double crochet. Remember and skip that stitch there. Don't think that you've got an odd number. You've got to skip that stitch. It keeps the pattern symmetrical. So we'll do a treble crochet in that stitch. We're not doing a skip stitch anymore. We're not doing a chain. I'm just going to find the stitch at the top of that chain of 3. Just push my hook through, pull through and do my treble crochet. And if you're in the USA, that's a double crochet. And this is what you get. Look how pretty that is. Look how pretty. It's really pretty. I like doing a puff stitch. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3 and turn. Now we're going to do 2 rows of UK treble crochets. If you're in the USA, that's double crochets. You're going to do 2 rows. So you're going to go into the next stitch and do your treble crochet or your double crochet. Now you're going to put one into the chain space that's here. Put one into the chain space, and then you're going to put one into the top of your puff stitch. So into the top of the puff stitch. Now you remember we left one stitch on the hook, and you're going into the top here. Then one into the chain space, one into the top of the puff stitch here, all the way along, one into the chain space, one into the top of the puff stitch. All the way along. Now when you get to the end, you'll chain 3 and turn, and you'll do 1 full row of UK treble crochets or USA double crochets. So once I've done my other row, I'll come back and show you what to do next. You'll move on to a puff row again. So I've done my 2 rows of treble crochet, or if you're in the USA, that's double crochet. And you can see how wide it looks with the chunky yarn. And you can make it into hats, into blankets, into anything that you want to do it. It'd be really pretty as a poncho type thing as well if I did it as a square with I'll need to do that one day. I'll need to show you how to do like a poncho shape. That would be really pretty as a poncho, that one, especially in the winter. So what we're going to do now is, so I started with 1 row and then the puff stitch. Then I've done 2 rows and it'll be a puff stitch, 2 rows, a puff stitch, 2 rows, and then a puff stitch row. What we're going to do now is just chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. You're going to go into the next stitch, not that one right below that treble crochet. We're going into this one. The perils of using a light coloured yarn in your video, you get a shine on it. We're going to chain 1, skip 1, and then do our puff stitch. So that is 4 times into the same stitch. Pull the yarn up, that's 3, yarn over, and that's 4. Yarn over and come through the puff bundle. Come through that bundle. You've got 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and come through those 2 loops. Chain 1, skip 1, and then do your puff stitch. You're going to do that all the way to the end. Chain 1, skip 1, and puff stitch. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now if you get lost with how many that you've done, if you count them in sets of 2, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you'll know how many that you've gone around. So 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through those 2 stitches and chain 1. Skip 1, then puff stitch. Make sure you pull it up to meet the height of your other stitches. Pull through that cluster, yarn over, pull through, and remember your chain 1. And this is what you get. Now the actual pattern is a treble crochet row, a puff row, and a treble crochet row. That's the actual pattern. and then you'll do another treble crochet row, a puff row and a treble crochet row, then a treble crochet row, puff row and treble crochet row. Molly's just woke up, he's had to sleep and he's just shaking himself there, and that is what you get. I'm going to pop that aside. I'll bring my other one back in. I'm still working on this one. I'm doing a little coverlet for those little car seat carry. Do you know those little car seat carry thing? And it's going to actually go up and down this way. The blanket, it's going to go that way. It's nice like that. And that is all you do. There's nothing else to really say. It's the pattern is one row treble crochet, a puff row and a treble crochet row, then another treble crochet, puff, treble crochet row, and you just keep doing that. It's so simple. And don't be afraid if you have a YouTube channel. Don't be, especially if you're a beginner to YouTube, don't be afraid to use stitch books. Don't be afraid to take stitches and mix them with other ones and come up with little patterns like this. So give this a try. It's really, really pretty. It's a beautiful shade of peach from this Karen Simply Soft. This is my all-time favourite yarn, this, and it's really pretty. And I want to say thank you for all the people who have been sending me yarn in Happy Mail. It's brilliant. It really is. I can't thank everyone enough. So give this a little try, and also if you make a blanket like this, feel free to sell it. Feel free to sell it. It's only 2 stitches, 2 old stitches that have been around for centuries. Then feel free, if you make any blankets from my channel, feel free to sell them and make yourself some pocket money. So until the next time, happy crafting. Oh, 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 if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, then please click on that subscribe button and click on the bell icon, and YouTube will alert you when I put up another tutorial. Now, seriously, I need I need a darker set of curtains, or a darker blind on my window, so it cuts out the light. So I do apologise to anyone if you think this is a little bit too bright. I'm doing my best to well, other than just blocking off my whole window. I don't have the room to move my desk. I tried, but it just doesn't suit in my small living room. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe and hit the bell icon, and YouTube will alert you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting and stay safe.